This is what it is, okay? I said empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Hey, welcome to the 15th episode of the WiX Toolset. And I have something playing in the background here, like I always do end up with. Hey, can you hear the soccer? I can hear soccer. All right, there it is. Found it. Woohoo! All right, nothing like little technical things. Welcome to the 15th episode of the Deployment Dojo. This is a live show where we introduce and discuss software installation topics using the WiX Toolset. I'm your host, Rob Mensching. That was my son playing soccer in the background. You could hear a little bit. And joining me today is my very good friend and student of deployment back from the dead, David Edson. How you doing, David?
Oh, great. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, well, you are irreplaceable. Bob did a great job standing in for you. But like I said, Bob could probably run the dojo here without me. You bring a completely different energy to it, and I'm very happy to have you back here. All right. This is not 14. This is episode 15, right? Look at that. Last minute changes on the screen. Okay. Woo! I think I'm a little bit out of practice here, David. So excited having you back. I forgot all the little details. All right. You missed properties. You missed the last little bit of runtime, and I know you're going to watch the episode, so it's no problem. Today, we're going to come back into the build. So I know we've been jumping around a little bit. We talked about preprocessed variables and how to use them inside the build system. We talked about how to use directories and how you can change them at install time. Then we talked about properties, which could also be done at install time. Now I'm going to bring it back, and we're going to talk about another piece that we can do at build time, another variable we can do at build time that, well, you lose for languages. You use for creating multiple installations, same installations, just with different languages in them. So that's what I want to talk about today as we're kind of working our way across the gambit of different variables inside the WiX toolset. So David, are you ready? We're gonna go jump in, get some code writing?
Let's do it.
All right. All right, here we are, episode 15, directory. We're starting with our usual Dojo sandbox and Dojo start command file. All right, no big surprises here, no big deal. Nothing too surprising. I'm going to bring up Visual Studio. Let's go ahead and launch up Visual Studio here, create a new project. And we've been getting a lot of work out of these two things over the side, so thank you, Visual Studio, for holding on to these. I did this last week. We're going to do it again. And we're not going to put episode 14. We're going to put it in episode 15. Oh, look, it changed the name. All right. Episode 15 program. I'm going to call it that. And I'm going to put it in the solution name is episode 15. All right. Hey, look, we're experimenting or using Visual Studio functionality that everybody sees every day with all of their projects. Nothing special. All right. Solution episode 15, create a program, go into the program and create it. Now, don't worry. I'm getting close to adding another bit of functionality, maybe even next episode where we'll talk about some other piece of technology. If not next episode, the one after that. Keep coming back, subscribe, join us each week, and we will continue to build this. But I like doing this just so that everybody that hasn't seen it is able to keep up, and it also gives us a little executable that we have to install that will spit out that, hey, it's episode 15, so you either know there's no magic, no mirrors, just us doing real coding. All right, there we have a program, no big deal. I'll build it real quick just to build it. This look good, Dave? Big enough? Looks all right?
Yep. I can see it fine, thanks.
Okay, let's do the thing we're all here for. Let's add a new project. Let's add an MSI package to this thing, and we'll call it episode 15. MSI inside our episode 15 solution. Dooba 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 doo. Cool. And it opens us up in our component group or in our package with our component group of example components. And if we go look at example components, we will see that it's installing our this file itself, which of course is totally reasonable, but not terribly interesting. And I want to install episode 15 program.exe. And before I do that, I need to add a project reference to make sure that program 15 is built before the MSI is built. Oh, look at that. Visual Studio doesn't like me having bigger font buttons for you guys. All right, here we go. And we're gonna do another build here, and hopefully everything is off to the races. Episode 15, MSI. We could bring up the sandbox, we could install it. I'm not gonna do that. No, I'm not gonna do it. I thought about it. It's kind of a habit. It's a nice habit to kind of be in, but I'm not gonna go to it. In fact, everything that I wanna talk about is right here in this prompt right here. Can you see that? Is that big enough?
Yeah, the MSI hit.
And the thing I want to talk about most is this part of the path right here. This is what we're talking about today. We're talking about
language?
localization variables, all right?
Okay.
The language, right. So by default, being Americans, we're being kind of opinionated, and we're giving you a template that throws in English because I'm pretty confident we can give you English localization and have it correct. We just had somebody contact us at Fire Giant, David. It's interesting. There's some Hungarian examples on our tutorial, on the Fire Giant tutorial for using WiX Toolset. If you want to go read and learn about WiX 3, you can go through that. Deployment Dojo is all about WiX 4, of course. And he pointed out that our Hungarian localization, like some of the stuff we're doing, does not, it ends in periods, but it's supposed to end in exclamation points when it's an imperative statement. So not when it's excitement, but when it's a command, it's supposed to end in an exclamation point.
Okay.
At least that's what somebody told me that knows, supposedly knows Hungarian than we do. I don't know, some random person from the internet we've never met. That's the challenge with localization. All right. So there's been this file here that we've not talked about at all. I'm bringing the size down a little bit. That I have glossed over, never touched, never opened. And this is a WXL file. This is a localization file. And in it, you are able to put strings and a little bit more that I'm not sure we're going to go into right now. But for now, the main thing is that you can put strings into it. All right. And you put the strings, just basically sentences, words, any value that you want to localize. Now, I'm not going to do any localization here because I don't speak other languages, sadly, at least not well enough that I could try to do it on stream. But let's say you want to have an MSI where when you install it on English, it says another product is already installed, but when you install it on another language, you want to pick a different MSI that has the correct language there, okay? So I want to show you how we can start creating MSIs with different languages inside them. All right?
All right.
Okay. Now, this one clearly says it's ENUS. It has ENUS in the name, which hooks it all up in the build system magically. Let's go figure out where this is used. Now, do you remember the syntax that we used for preprocessed variables?
A little, yeah.
$parent variable.
Yep.
And we had the alternative syntax, the old WiX 3 syntax, that you could still use as the var dot, right? But we simplified it so you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to specify the var dot in WiX 4. So we have another one. And that other one is this bang parent, okay? Now, I'm gonna go back and oh, look, hey, Martin's here, and he's gonna give us, is that DADK? So that is, I don't know what Denmark's language is. Is that Denmark? Danish, of course. Denmark, Danes, Danish. All right, maybe we'll use, Martin's been kind enough to toss in chat another language, so we'll try it. All right, so, all right, let me, where was I? All right, so this bang dot is another variable as part of the build process. So when you start with the build process, you have preprocessed variables. Those happen very, very early. They get replaced all over the place in your code, and they're baked into your code. Then we talked about directories and properties. Those happen at the very end when a person's actually installing the package. So those are a completely different space. Loc variables are in the middle. They're after you've done all your compiling, all the preprocessed variables, but they're done before the final MSI is built, which allows us to, in our case, change and build multiple MSIs, one per language. All right, so the way you refer to one of those is bang, parent, loc, dot, and then the name. So if I look at this downgrade error here, and I look over here at this, there's downgrade error. Dare I bring these two up side by side? I don't know if that's going to work. Might not be enough space. Close. Bang, loc, downgrade error, string ID, downgrade error. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So let's see. How do we get ourselves into a situation where we can get this message to pop up? What's the fastest way there? Let's go ahead and build this MSI. Yes, that's what we're going to do. We're going to build this MSI. Thank you. And this is version 1, right? Yes, version 1. So I'm going to copy episode 5, that to here's episode 15, not 5, 15, v1.msi. All right, so I did a build and I'm copying local. This is my English one, okay?
Okay.
Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to create, now I'm going to change my number and I'm going to make it smaller. 0.9. So now every time I do a build, I will have, when I build this package, it will build me a .9 release, which is less than the 1.0 release, right?
Right.
So this should, every time we build this episode 15, if we have the 1.0 installed on the machine already, it will error. It should error when we do this, right?
Right.
Okay. Now I'm going to do one more thing. Is it going to open the right place? It did. This is what I wanted. I'm going to open my Dojo start command. I'm going to try to do this. Can we do this in one go? MSI exec /I C:\Dojo episode, what did I call it? 15-v1.msi.
Yep.
And I'm going to run it. I haven't showed these commands before, but I want it to run in basic mode. So it'll just run quietly for us automatically. Should we try the sandbox? What's the sandbox going to do? It's going to try to automatically install our MSI. I hope it works. All right, let's bring up my prompt. Let's spin up the Dojo and let's see if we get all of our stuff installed plus the V1 right off the bat. All right, sandbox, magic sandbox. There we are. Spin up. It's going to do a bunch of things. And if we got the command right, we might even see an MSI prompt go by. Maybe? Did it happen? It's hard to tell. All right, let's hit refresh right here. Nope. Don't know if it worked. I got no information of whether it worked or not.
Right.
Oh, you know what? It didn't work. Do you know why?
I don't see it.
That little star right there is the kicker.
Oh, you didn't save it. Yeah.
How about I save it? All right, we'll try it again. Because I want this to work. Yes, I know. The sandbox will be lost. That's fine. Okay, I saved that startup file. Now, hopefully we see more. Zoom, sandbox. Here we go. Look, it did it. Oh, but I forgot to copy the cab file. I think the cab files are the same. So let's go ahead and...
It's a little small for me to read that error there.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
sorry.
what popped up.
So yeah, that error, and I can't make this bigger. I need to get my zoom tool out. But it says, source file could not find C:\Dojo cab1.cab, right? So as part of our build, we did not tell the package to embed the cabinet. So it's saying it needs a cab. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the last cab one we created, and I'm just going to copy it into this directory right next to episode 15. So I've copied cab1.cab right next to episode 1, and then I'm going to tell it, hey, go ahead and retry. I got you a cab1.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. There's episode 15 with our to-do manufacturer, because we didn't replace that in our source code, with version 1. All right. All of this to get ourselves set up so that we could run episode 15, bin x86 debug e and us. There we are. Run this. And we expect to see a newer version of episode 15 is already installed, which is not the value bang parent loc dot downgrade error. No, it's actually the value that came from this WXL file. A newer version of product name is already installed. Okay. And if you remember from the properties that we did yesterday, I said properties can be used. They can be private properties when they're not all caps. And here there's the syntax, and product name is a built-in property that Windows Installer gives us. So we could just say, hey, give me this variable and put it right here. So I don't have to hard code that name into all my WXL files. I can just use the variable that happens at install time. Handy, and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. Let us go ahead and shut down the sandbox. I've lost it. Here it is. Maybe. Sandbox. There it is. A new error is already installed. All right. And to prove that it works, we're going to finish this. And I'm going to change this to changed. Just to be obvious. Blatantly obvious, right?
Right.
Build that. While that builds in the background, I'm going to open... What is that directory? Dojo episode 15. Episode 15 bin. I want it to open this directory for me. Instead of just the Dojo folder, I want it to open up the folder with my MSI in. It'd be less clicking for me in the UI. All right?
Yep. Yep.
Cool, cool.
Cool.
Cool, 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 cool. All right, here we go. In this case, I'm not even sure we need to open program files folder. Hey, I almost did it, dude. Save. Do you know why I keep forgetting to save it? Because VS Code automatically saves for me. And I know there's a setting in Visual Studio, or at least I think there is, in the newer Visual Studio that will do that when you navigate away from the window.
Right.
Please just save for me. But all right, I need to figure out, turn that on in this little one. All right, here we go. Spin up the sandbox. We're going to see version 1 installed again. There it goes. We're going to see here, this comes up too fast, but there's episode 15 installed. And hopefully, yay, we're in our directory. This is version 0.9, we think.
Right.
Okay? And let's go ahead and install this. Changed. Bang, 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 bang. A newer version of episode 15 is already installed. All right?
Right.
Okay, so all I've shown here is that you have these files called WXL files that you can pass in. You can put strings in them, and that if you do so, they will can be used as variables throughout all over the place. And we happen to be using this variable as the value here, right?
Right.
In fact, why don't we do this real quick while we're here? We need to fix it anyway, right? Let's create another variable. Did I spell manufacturer right? I think so.
Yep.
Okay, so string ID equals manufacturer. Value equals tilde. There we go. Deployment Dojo. There we go. We're going to say that's our manufacturer. Okay. So I've gone to my WXL file. I've said I'm going to create another string variable called manufacturer. They're just string variables. I can create as many as I want, and I'm going to use it right here. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. And I'm going to do one more thing while we're here. I'm going to give us another built-in property called product version. So we have product name, v product version. All right. So I'm going to change also the error message so it spits out the product version that we're installing. These are both built in the Windows installer properties that it gave us. We don't have to define them. All right.
Is there like a list of built-in properties to Windows like that
Yes.
you should know beforehand?
That you should know. You should be able to search the internet for Windows installer built-in properties or something like that and get the very long list of all of them.
Okay.
Let's, why don't we just do that? Search the web. Windows installer. Don't search for MSI because there's a company named MSI. Makes it really, very tricky. Plus the MSDN SDK calls them Windows installer. More. I'm going to make this bigger. Windows installer SDK. Standard. That's what it's called. Standard properties. That's the keyword.
Yeah, that's the one that I couldn't. Okay. Standard properties.
And Windows installer. Let's see. I think it's this one. Specifying properties. Well, there we go. It's got us close. So here's a few of them. Here are 5 properties that are required. And it will take us to the property table. It's not exactly where I wanted to list, but there's product version, there's product name. Let me make this a bit bigger. Also, there's manufacturer built in. And if you go to the property table, I'm pretty sure. Oh, man. Actually, I'm a little. Maybe it's down here. Phew. I really thought they would do a better job. Property reference. All right, maybe that's the thing to search. See, here I was saying you just have to know what to search for. I just know how to navigate my way around until I find it. But as you can see, this is not the list of properties. This is the list of properties of groups of properties.
Right.
So here's product information, and there's a lot, and here's our product name and our product version that we're just looking at.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
do you have to memorize all these? No. Should you have
No.
read all of them one time? Yes, just so you know all of them that are there. I need to go back and read them every once in a while.
Gotcha.
So, all right. So, Windows Installer SDK Property Reference. There we go. Windows Installer SDK Property Reference. Rewind this. I'm chopping all this out of the highlights video, and we're going straight to that. All right.
Right.
Okay, so what did I do? I added a string. I updated. So I added a string calling our manufacturer deployment dojo, and I'm using it here in my package. And then I'm saying a newer version of the product name, and I added another standard property for me, v product version.
Right.
Okay, let's go ahead and build this. Doobie-doobie-doo. All right. All right, and this is going to take us to the end of Kata 1. Only one sandbox. Oh, I saw the sandbox running. Okay. Actually, we just rebuilt. I don't have to do anything because this is still version 1 installed, right? Yep, with that manufacturer. Yep. Okay. So it says episode 15, a newer version of episode 5, or sorry, of episode 15. I don't know why I keep doing 5. Of 15 v 0.9.00 is already installed. So it got our product version, put it in there. And if we then uninstall this guy and remove it, and then we install this MSI, it will work this time, and we will see that our manufacturer now is Tilde Deployment Dojo. Yay! So,
Yep.
what did we show? We showed that we can create loc variables, and we could put them in this separate file. Okay?
Right. Right.
Okay. That's Kata 1, or Kata 0. On to Kata 1. Okay. Why do we put them in a separate file? Do you want to take a guess, David?
So that's a good question. I'm not sure, other than just to keep all the ones that are, related to localization in the same area. I mean, I don't know.
But here, the kicker actually goes back to the beginning when I said I only know one language. If you create another one of these, and I'm going to create another one of these, and we have Martin here with us, and he's going to prove my point for me. What is this? DADK, he said? DADK. Okay. So now I've copied the file, I've put it here, and I have this file that has these values that are not correct for this language. Martin, if you could be so kind, I would really appreciate if you could localize at least a newer version of whatever. I might be able to pull it out of yours, but I might not. If you could localize that. And I don't know, can you localize Deployment Dojo? I don't know if that localizes. We'll see. All right. But here's the kicker. This file I can send off to somebody that knows nothing about setup, but knows about languages, and say, will you please replace all these values here for me?
Okay.
So I could take this one file, email it off, however you send it off to whoever can localize things. And when they send it back to you, they will send you back this file. And the only thing in here, and you tell them, hey, don't touch these IDs. These IDs are known. And when you get localizers that are in this business, they understand the concept of code versus localization strings, especially if you isolate it down, because you don't want them localizing things that should not be localized, right? We would not want them localizing example components, right? If they localize this, then it, to whatever it would be in Danish in this case, then it would no longer connect with this example components over here, or maybe they localize both of them, and then our code is just different all over the place. Instead, what they're localizing is just everything inside this value. And they have tools that can help them find just those parts, and they localize them. So,
okay, so manufacturer is. I'm trying to understand like what Martin would see on his side. Would he put the Danish word for manufacturer in there along with the
that's the important part. I would tell Martin, hey, do not touch any of the IDs. Only update the values.
I see. Just the value. Okay.
I'd be like, here you go. Am I in Danish? Let me make sure I'm updating the right file. Okay, yeah, I'm in Danish. And I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to assume I could drop this right here, and that it's not going to be like some sort of backwards whatever. And Bob does a nice job here mentioning that manufacturer, Martin mentioned that Deployment Dojo doesn't localize, right? It's like, how do you, that doesn't change in Danish. You're like, well, what do I do it? Well, it turns out sometimes you end up with trademarks or names that should not change as they go around the world. So you maybe don't put them in here, or they just stay where they're at, or you give guidelines to the localizers. Hey, by the way, our company name is Deployment Dojo, so do not change it. Right? When you see it, it stays there because it's a trademark. You can't modify it, and then it's a global trademark and those kinds of things. All right. So what we got here was Martin was good enough to proxy through me through the power of YouTube chat. He has transferred back to me the localized version of this file. So now I have two files. I have Danish and I have English. Okay. And now me as a developer also, I don't have to, oh, yeah, I should change the culture. Thank you. DA, DK. Yeah, he pointed out that I need to change the culture on the DA, DK one. So it's updated. Right.
Right.
Okay. So now the other nice thing is here is that as a developer, as a setup developer that maybe only speaks one language, I can, for all intents and purposes, ignore all these other WXL files because I can't read them anyway. And honestly, I don't want to change them.
Right.
I don't want to change it. Because I'm a little worried about putting the V right here because you get some cases where actually it has to be V day, or something like that. Lots of language is crazy. All right, but I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say it goes here. Okay. So you see why it's a separate file, so I can send it off to somebody, run it through their process, and come back. The V is fine. So Martin's clarified that, yes. So this is the kind of thing you have these conversations with your localizers. Hey, is it okay if this string is corrected? Those kinds of things. You ship it off, and then you don't touch it again. All right?
Right.
Makes sense. So these are separate files.
Okay.
Okay? All right, but I need to build my MSI. I'm going to kill my sandbox off here to let it reset while we were doing this. Okay, I'm now going to build my MSI project. Okay, ready?
Ready.
Build started, episode 15, configuration, debug x64. What's taking the longest time right here, David?
The verification?
The validation.
Validation.
Yep. And then look what it sped out. Not one MSI, but two. I got my ENUS one here, but I also now have a DADK. So because I had this separate file with this language in it and this culture, it knew to create me two separate MSIs.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
All right. Did it work?
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah. I hope Martin's still around. I can't read this error message if it comes up. Okay. So we're going to do the simple one first. That's the V1 has installed, and V1 still has to do a manufacturer because we did not update it, right?
Right.
Oh, we probably don't need program files hanging around here, but that's okay. All right, here's ENUS, debug MSI. So we're going to install this MSI. It's going to open. It says a newer version of episode 15, V0.9.000 is already installed. That's what we expected because this is English. We didn't change any of that, so that's good. That should just work. Danish. Is it going to work? Episode 15. Here we go. There's a couple things going on here. In their version of episode 15 V0.9, installer it. I don't know. I can't speak Danish. I'm sure it's been completely destroyed and Martin is rolling on the floor laughing or otherwise. Okay, so there you go. So you notice how this has been localized, right? Clearly localized. Right. Another interesting thing is that by marking that language, we also told the Windows installer, hey, our package is Danish. So please localize your strings as well. Notice how this says cancel, and this says, I don't know what that says.
Right.
Right? So here we have created by simply getting a localization file, doing the work to ship it halfway around the world, not quite halfway around the world, a third? I don't know how far Denmark is from Seattle. Although if you go over the polar ice cap, I guess it's not that far. We now have a localized MSI file. Cool?
Cool.
Cool.
Makes sense.
All right. Close it in sandbox. On to sparring. All right, David, time for you to bring your questions. Anything you want to ask?
Well, I think I got some of them out of the way while we were doing it.
I know. We're getting the hang of this, aren't we? It's like, yeah, you're coming back swinging. We're doing the whole thing. That's great. One thing that Bob brought up in the chat, being his expert level thing, is that he pointed out that you don't want to do things like you don't want to create. This font is so big. Oh, it's tabbing. That's why. All right, downgrade error. Well, I'm just calling 1 and 2. Okay, and say a newer version of this, and then this. All right, so here we've kind of split this message. Okay, you can do this. This is legal. I'm going to take downgrade error 1, put this in here, and then put downgrade error downgrade error
2,
right? So that's the same thing for this Danish. Oh, wait, I did English, right? For English, right? And we could do the same thing for Danish here. Real quick. All right. Clean this up, put that together. And we would get the same results and everything would work fine for Danish and English. But there are other languages that do not concatenate like this. That do not, you can't just stick parts of the language together, right? You can't write it like this and have it work out and have this be able to put this in the middle. So generally it's not a good idea to concatenate strings. It's better to take the whole string, hand it off to localization and say, hey, here, create this whole new string and put it in fully, because the rules of languages change as you go from one to the next.
Okay, that makes sense.
Just that's a free localization tip for you. And that works on all programs, not just this one. Not just MSIs. All things work that way.
Okay.
All right. So we've learned another variable that allows us to be updated, and the way that it does those updates, it will end up creating multiple MSIs for us. So we don't have where preprocessed variables get baked in at one time. Here we can change these loc variables, and these files will end up creating multiple MSIs for us when built through MS Build.
And all of these are always in the WXL file. Is that?
Yeah, you
accurate?
put them in WXL files. Yep.
Okay. You're not gonna find them anywhere else, or? Okay.
Well, you have to put them in a WiX localization file, right? So it has to be underneath this element name in this namespace right here, right? Just so, like, you know, notice this says WXL right here, and in package it says WXS. These are different file types, right?
Right.
So you don't mix the two of them together. So Martin asks, can the two MSIs be merged and choose a language from the user at runtime? So that's a very advanced question. It's a good question. Not exactly. There is a feature that's supposed to work in WinInstaller that WiX does not do, where it will create transforms. We'll actually create diffs between MSIs, and you can then take those transforms and shove them in MSI, and the Windows installer is supposed to then pick the appropriate language when it kicks up. It's like, oh, your operating system is in Danish, therefore I'll apply the Danish transform, and then pretend your MSI is Danish and all these kinds of things. It's supposed to work. I haven't done the work myself, or I haven't seen someone try it in recent versions of the Windows installer to know that it's trusted enough that we can make that a feature of WiX. So we don't have anything to help you do that. You can use a whole bunch of different tools to get to that space, but there's nothing at that. There's no UI in the Windows installer that will pop up and say, hey, which of these languages of the MSI do you want to pick? Like, this language supports 5 languages. Which one do you want to install? And you'd be like, oh, I understand French, or in this case, Danish. Pick that and then install. Or, oh no, I want English in this case. Pick that. That feature does not exist inside the Windows installer. For those kinds of things, you'd use a bundle, you'd use burn. And we're a ways away from getting David to the point that he's doing bundles.
Getting there.
Yeah. So the reason I bring this up is that this bind concept, these loc variables are deep inside the WiX toolset. They exist all through, so you can use them all over. So when we get up to the point that we have bundles, these will still be an option. All right. I think that's today. Good stuff. All right. One little minor housekeeping thing. For those of you that watch this live, thank you very much. Love having you here. The chat is great. I love it. And Bert, welcome. It was great for you to help me note that I needed to fix the culture. I do appreciate that very much. I'm going to be trying to clean up the intro a little bit, make it a little tighter. So I know a lot of times I give you guys a couple minutes of intro time that you can just kind of sit back and chill and listen to the cool Deployment Dojo music. I'm going to try to tighten that up so that the stream goes out and is going right away. For those of you that are recorded, that you don't have to skip for like 2 minutes of empty space trying to find it. I'm going to try to shorten that up for you. Just so you know, next time, if you guys are watching live, if not next time, time after that or that, don't be worried as it starts counting down to 0. My hope is that eventually I will nail it, so it'll start at 0 and you'll be watching the show right off the bat instead of having a 2-minute intro. Just a little piece. I didn't want to scare anybody in case for all you guys that are watching live. And it's great to have you here. Martin, thank you very much. I really appreciate the real Danish. I was going to be making up stuff. I'm not good at Pig Latin either, so I was going to just putting changed and words like that. So this is a much nicer to have a real world example. I appreciate that very much. And David, as always, great to have you back. We'll be back next week, and we're going to roll forward into a review, a little bit of a review. I want to kind of put all of the various pieces of variables on the map. We need to introduce another concept before we can introduce the final variable that I want to talk about. And then I think we'll have the set of variables that you can use in the WiX Toolset. And when you pick each one, we'll kind of go over that. And then we'll wrap up the variables in the WiX Toolset in the Windows Installer. And we'll move on to the next topic after that. I'm excited.
Sounds good.
All right, David, thank you for joining us. All of you, thank you for joining us. We will be back next week. And oh, by the way, WiX RC2 is getting real close. So get into RC1 now. Help us make sure it works for you. We're using RC1 here. I could prove it right up here. We're all on WiX 4 RC1. RC1 is already out, done. We're going to move to RC2 very shortly, the 20th. All right, I'll see you guys later. Until next week, bye.
See ya.